The doctor didn't even look at her when he said it, just shoved the quiet nurse out of his way like she was furniture. Emma stumbled into the wall, light blue scrubs wrinkling, eyes still down. Everyone saw it. No one stopped it. Then the trauma doors burst open and a wounded Navy SEAL came in bleeding, still conscious, still dangerous. The doctor snapped, "Get this dumb nurse out of here." The SEAL's head lifted, his eyes locked on Emma, and in a voice so low it made the whole ER freeze, he whispered, "Don't touch her." The doctor laughed. The SEAL didn't. "You don't know who she is." And Emma's calm face finally changed. "Before we begin, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and hit subscribe." The shift started like every other. Fluorescent lights, coffee that tasted like burnt plastic, the steady, impatient rhythm of monitors and rolling gurneys. Emma moved through it quietly like she always did. Blonde hair tied back, light blue scrubs, sleeves rolled just enough to show forearms that looked too slim for the chaos she handled. She didn't talk much. She didn't argue. She didn't play politics. She just worked. And because she was soft-spoken, people treated her like she was soft, like she wouldn't bite, like she'd take whatever they gave her. That was the lie Mercy General had built around her. Even the new residents used her as a shortcut. "Hey, can you do this? Can you run that? Can you cover my mistake?" And Emma would nod, fix it, disappear again. The only person who seemed to enjoy that dynamic was Dr. Carter Vale, the senior attending on trauma that night. He had the kind of confidence that came from never being corrected. Tall, loud, hands always moving like he owned the air. He called nurses sweetheart when cameras were around and idiots when they weren't. And he had a favorite type of target, the quiet ones. It happened at 2:11 a.m. in the main trauma bay. The doors burst open with paramedics shouting over each other. And Emma was the first one there, not because she was assigned, but because she heard the sound in the hallway, and her body moved before permission existed. A teenage girl had been brought in from a rollover. Blood in her hair, pupils uneven. Emma's eyes flicked once fast, and she grabbed the suction and started clearing the airway while the resident fumbled with a mask. The girl gagged, coughed. A weak breath returned. Emma kept her voice calm like she was reading a bedtime story instead of pulling someone back from the edge. "Stay with me. You're okay. I've got you." That was when Dr. Vale swept in, glanced at the patient, and immediately decided he didn't like the way Emma was standing. Not the work, just the fact that she was in his lane. He leaned close enough that his breath hit her ear. "Move, batch," he snapped. And then, like it was nothing, he shoved her shoulder hard. Emma stumbled sideways into the counter. A tray rattled. Metal clinked. The whole room saw it. The resident froze. A nurse gasped, but nobody said a word because it was Dr. Vale. Because he was brilliant. Because hospitals have a sick way of protecting men who bring money and prestige. Emma didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just steadied herself, set the suction down, and looked back at the patient like nothing had happened. That calm, her refusal to react made Vale even meaner. "You heard me," he said louder. "Get out of my way before you hurt someone." Emma's jaw tightened once, barely. Then she stepped back, and the room pretended it hadn't just watched a doctor assault a nurse. 10 minutes later, the entire ER changed. Not gradually, instantly. The automatic doors slammed open again and the paramedics rolled in a man who didn't look like any civilian trauma patient Mercy General was used to. His uniform wasn't hospital issued. It was green camo, tactical, torn at the shoulder. Dark blood soaked through the fabric and pulled beneath him. His face was pale, but his eyes were awake. Too awake for a man losing that much blood. He didn't scan the ceiling. He scanned the exits. He tracked corners. He watched. Hands. He moved like a predator forced onto a stretcher. The paramedic shouted, multiple penetrating wounds, possible internal bleeding. But Dr. Vale was already stepping in, grinning like this was his stage again. "All right, let's go," he barked. "Get me vitals. Start 2 large bore 4s. Someone call surgery." The man on the gurney turned his head slowly and stared at Vale with a look that wasn't fear or pain. It was assessment. Like Vale was a problem to solve. The medic leaned in, whispering, "He's military." Vale scoffed, "I don't care if he's the president. He's bleeding in my ER." The man tried to sit up. Pain hit him like a wave and his teeth clenched hard enough to show muscle in his jaw. Vale grabbed his shoulder to push him back. Stay still, he snapped. You're not special. That was when the man's hand shot out and caught Vale's wrist, fast, precise, with a grip that made the doctor's face twitch. Don't touch me, the wounded man growled. His voice was low, not loud, but the room went quiet anyway. The paramedics backed off. Even security shifted closer. And then Vale did what men like him always do when their authority gets challenged. He looked for someone weaker to punish. His eyes snapped to Emma. Emma had stepped in automatically. Gloves already on. IV kit ready. Not because she wanted to, because she couldn't watch someone bleed out while egos played games. She approached the gurney calmly, eyes on the wound. Not the man. Vale stepped between them like a wall. Get this dumb nurse out of here, he said. She's already in the way. Emma didn't respond. She reached for the 4 anyway. Vale slapped her hand away hard. The sound echoed. The resident flinched. The wounded man's eyes locked onto Emma's face for the first time, and something in him shifted. His breathing changed like a man hearing a voice he hadn't heard in years. No, he said quieter now. Not her. Vale laughed sharp and ugly. Not her. Who the hell is she to you? The man ignored him. He stared at Emma like he was trying to confirm she was real. Emma froze for half a second, just a fraction. Then she masked it. The calm came back. The quiet nurse expression like she'd never met him, like she didn't know him, like her hands didn't suddenly feel heavier. Vale leaned close to her again, voice dripping with contempt. You like this, don't you? He hissed. Playing hero, acting like you matter. Emma's eyes flicked up just once. Cold, controlled, not angry, something worse. Vale didn't understand what he just touched. He smirked anyway and shoved her back a second time. Move, batch, he repeated. The wounded man exploded, not with yelling, with presence. His hand snapped out and grabbed the side rail so hard the metal groaned. He forced himself upright on pure willpower, blood leaking faster now, and his voice came out like a warning shot. Don't, he said. Vale turned irritated. Excuse me. The man's eyes never left Emma. Don't touch her, he repeated. Not again. The room held its breath. Even Dr. Vale felt it. That shift where a patient stops being a patient and becomes something else. Vale tried to laugh it off. You're delirious, he said. You're bleeding out. You don't get to make demands. The man swallowed hard, pain flashing across his face, but his voice stayed steady. I'm not making a demand, he said. I'm giving you a warning. Emma stepped forward again, softer now, like she was trying to stop the collision before it happened. Sir, she said gently, you need to lie back. Let me start in 4. The man's head turned toward her voice, his eyes softened. Just a little, Emma, he whispered. And the way he said it, like it wasn't a name, like it was a memory, sent a ripple through the staff. Vale's smile faded. How do you know her? He snapped. The man didn't answer. He was breathing faster now, losing ground, but he still had enough strength to do one more thing. His eyes narrowed, and he spoke again, lower, for Emma only. Death Star, he said. Emma's hands stopped mid-motion. For the first time all night, the quiet nurse mask cracked. Her eyes flicked toward the doors, toward the hallway, toward the corners, like she was suddenly back in a place where corners mattered. Vale didn't notice that detail, but the wounded man did, the resident did, the charge nurse did, because that wasn't a nickname. That wasn't flirting. That wasn't something you said to a nurse you'd met on a shift. That was a call sign, the kind you only say when you've bled beside someone. Vale stared at Emma like she'd betrayed him. What the hell is he talking about? He demanded. Emma swallowed once hard. She forced her hands to move again, reaching for the 4. It's nothing, she said quietly. But the wounded SEAL shook his head. It's not nothing, he rasped. She saved my life. She saved my whole team. Vale scoffed. She's a nurse. The SEAL's eyes turned toward him and the air in the room sharpened. No, he said. She's not. And before anyone could process what that meant, the monitor alarm suddenly changed tone, fast, urgent, rising, because the SEAL's blood pressure dropped like a stone. And Emma moved like someone who'd been waiting years for this exact moment. Emma didn't shout. She didn't panic. She didn't do what the room expected a quiet nurse to do when a 6-foot Navy SEAL commander started crashing on a stretcher. She just moved. 1 second she was standing near the counter with her hands stinging from Dr. Vale slapping it away. And the next she was at the gurney, both gloves already on, fingers pressing hard into the commander's neck, finding the pulse point like it was muscle memory instead of training. His skin was cold, sweaty under her touch. His eyes were still open, still locked on her, but the focus was fading. BPS dropping, the resident blurted. No kidding, Vale snapped, trying to shove his way back into control. Start fluids. Get me 2 large bore 4s right now, Emma said, calm but sharp. The words didn't sound like a nurse asking permission. They sounded like an operator giving an order. The room obeyed before anyone realized they had. Emma's hands moved fast, not messy fast, efficient fast. The kind of speed that comes from doing the same thing in a place where hesitation gets people killed. She ripped open the forekit, anchored the vein, slid the catheter in clean on the first try. No fishing, no second attempt, no shaking hands. A flash of blood. Then the line was secured, taped down, and flowing. The SEAL commander's jaw clenched as the fluid hit. His eyes flooded. Emma leaned close enough that only he could hear. "You're not dying in my ER," she said softly. The resident stared at her like she just spoke in a different language. Dr. Prevail, on the other hand, looked furious because the whole room had just watched Emma take over without asking. And nothing hurts a man like that more than being ignored. "Emma," Vale barked, voice rising. "Get the hell out of the way. You're a nurse. You do not run trauma in my bay." Emma didn't even look at him. She looked at the commander's abdomen. The field dressing was wrong. Not sloppy, wrong. Whoever had wrapped it had done it quickly, like they were hiding something, like they didn't want the wound fully exposed. Emma's eyes narrowed. She reached for the dressing. The commander's hand shot up and caught her wrist. Not aggressive. Instinct. His grip was weak now, but it still carried command. Emma held his gaze. "Let me see it," she said. The commander swallowed, throat tight. "Don't let him." "Vale?" Emma asked, eyes flicking once toward the doctor. The commander's eyelids fluttered. "Not him." That was when Emma understood. This wasn't just an injury. This was a situation. Emma leaned in again, voice low. "Okay, then you listen to me. You're going to stay awake. You're going to breathe, and you're going to stop trying to fight me." His lips twitched like he almost smiled. Then the monitor screamed again. High pitch. Urgent. The line of his heart rhythm stuttered. The resident's voice cracked. "He's going into VTC." Vale's face tightened. Adrenaline finally forcing him to act. "Clear. Charge to not yet." Emma cut in. "Vale." Spun on her like she'd slap him. "What did you just say?" Emma didn't flinch. "Not yet." He's bleeding internally. Shocking him won't fix the problem. It'll make it worse. The resident blinked. "How do you?" Emma's eyes stayed on the commander's chest rise shallow. "Too fast." "Because his body's compensating," she said. "He's running on adrenaline and stubbornness. That ends in about 30 seconds. Vale scoffed. "You're guessing." Emma finally looked at him. And for the first time, the room saw something behind her calm. Not fear, not softness, a cold, quiet certainty that made even Vale's mouth pause mid-insult. "I'm not guessing," she said. "I'm reading him." Then she reached down and tore the dressing open. The wound wasn't what the ER thought it was. It wasn't a clean stab. It was a jagged puncture with bruising around the edges, like something had entered at an angle and been pulled out fast. And beneath the skin, the swelling wasn't swelling. It was pressure. "Jesus," the resident whispered. Emma's fingers pressed gently along the abdomen, and the commander hissed. "Rigid," Emma said. "He's got internal bleeding." Vale leaned in, irritated, but forced to admit the obvious. "He needs surgery." Emma nodded. "Yes, but not with you yelling and throwing hands." Vale's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me." Emma didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "You hit me," she said simply. "In front of the whole ER twice. And now you want me to trust you with his life?" The room went silent. Even the monitor seemed quieter for a second. Vale's face turned red. That was unprofessional. The charge nurse said suddenly, voice trembling. Vale snapped toward her. "Stay out of it." The wounded commander tried to lift his head again, pain ripping through him. "Don't touch her." Vale leaned close to the commander, smiling in that ugly way. Relax, hero. You're bleeding out. You don't get to play protector. The commander's eyes burned. And then he did something that made every person in the room freeze. He spoke clearly. Despite the pain, despite the blood loss. Death Star, he said again. Emma's hands paused. Vale's brow furrowed. What the hell is that? The commander swallowed hard. Her call sign. The resident's mouth fell open. Call sign. Like military. Emma didn't deny it. She didn't confirm it. She just kept working. But her jaw tightened. Vale laughed once, sharp and mocking. Oh, give me a break. You're telling me this little nurse is some kind of Navy SEAL, too? The commander's eyes flicked to Emma's face. Not a SEAL, he rasped. Vale's smile widened. Then what? The commander's voice dropped lower. A medic, and the only reason my team walked out alive. Emma's throat tightened because the commander wasn't just saying it for drama. He was saying it because he needed something. He needed her to be who she used to be. Emma kept her hands moving. Get blood ready, she said. The resident blinked. Type and cross. Massive transfusion protocol, Emma replied. Now Vale stepped in front of her again, trying to reassert himself. No, you don't call that. I do. Emma looked up at him. You're not in charge, she said. Vale's face twisted. I'm the attending surgeon. Emma's voice stayed flat. Then act like one. The words hit like a slap. For a second, Vale looked like he might actually swing again, and the room felt it. Security shifted. The charge nurse's hand went to her radio, but before anyone could stop him, Vale grabbed Emma by the upper arm and yanked her back hard enough to spin her. Don't talk to me like that, he hissed. Emma's shoulder burned. Her scrubs tugged tight. And in that moment, when Vale had his hand on her, squeezing, humiliating her in front of everyone, Emma made a decision. Not emotional, not dramatic, strategic. She reached up, grabbed the neckline of her scrub top with both hands, and pulled it down just enough to reveal the top of her chest. The room stopped breathing because there inked into her skin was a skull, dark, sharp, unmistakable, and beneath it, the number 77. The commander's eyes widened instantly. His entire body reacted like someone had been hit with a memory. 77, he whispered. The resident stared. What is that? Vale blinked, thrown off for the first time. Is that a tattoo? What is this? Some cosplay. Emma turned her head slightly, not even looking at Vale. She was looking at the commander, and her voice was quiet. Do you remember what 77 means? She asked. The commander swallowed. His eyes looked glassy now, not from blood loss, but from something older. A unit. He rasped. A ghost unit. Emma nodded once.